Island. The morning started out peaceful. We were rambling along on the lazy river. Early morning pace, the stench of rotting jungle, the dark waters. You don't want to put your hand or foot into it, and you certainly wouldn't drink from it. There were strange things lurking underneath that could eat you and swallow you whole. In fact, just up ahead are the festering pools of crocs. Namanwari is the term used for the largest mythical crocs. The natives call them wari. Tourists come here to take pictures and watch the eating frenzies of these big beasts. I was heading down river to the next village to pick up supplies. I started to examine the rest of the crew in the skiff traveling with me. They were the usual crowd, ladies looking for romance, mysterious men in plain clothes trying to look unimportant, distrusting guys with possible criminal records, the young seekers of action, and rich folks that have business to conduct. Photographers hoping for that one perfect photo shot to win an award. Rifled men able to stand up to pirates, thieves, and killer animals that might want to hurt us. But who am I to judge? I don't belong either, just passing through like everyone else, doing the best to make a living, staying out of trouble, minding my own business, and giving the helpless a hand whenever I could. Along with the smells of decay are the other subtleties, the fragrances of powerful flowers, sounds of animals that can both amuse and scare you, birds giving off music and fanatic warnings that one sometimes cannot understand, but loves to listen to, mosquitoes that can kill you, and other insects that suck the life out of you. In fact, this jungle environment is downright lethal, but addictive. You kind of enjoy the danger, makes you feel the value of being alive. And when that warm sun hits you early in the morning, it makes life so worth living that it evaporates that negativity all away. The morning heat is just cool enough to enjoy. There is little sweat and few bugs to worry about. Just the best time of the day. The dullness of waking up has passed. The terror of night has disappeared. And the rest of the day is ready to reveal itself. It's a good time to relax and drift, sort of slide away into daydreams, that safe point between awake and asleep, just listening to the lather of water passing the skiff, occasionally a splash of a fish snapping above the surface grabbing a bug, and then more silence. That's just it, the silence on the river is not your normal activity, no monkey sounds, no birds singing. What does this all mean to me? I must be falling asleep, keeping a musical rhythm with the movement and sound of the skiff motor. With a jolt, I came to the awareness of some kind of an explosion. Maybe not an explosion, but something was not right, just a feeling. Slowly the skiff seemed to be moving, like in an arc. First upwards then away from the bow, almost like the skiff was in two pieces. I could see the front end of the skiff come poking out of the water in front of me. It really was in half, looking like parts of the Titanic. I hit the water, which not only brought me from dreamland into cold and wet reality, but the thought occurred to me exactly where I was. Jungle-infested waters. The river current dragged me down and I reacted by churning the black water all around me. I was lost in the bubbles, not knowing which way was up. I relaxed knowing there may be a chance of survival if I found air. Nothing mattered now but the need for air. I felt murky cold sludge for a moment, thinking I hit bottom sand with my head. This caused me to sputter, as if to yell. Reversing and pushing up, I found the distance to the surface approximately 15 feet later. I thought I would drown before I got air. I never thought how important a gulp of air would feel like till breaking through the surface. I was in danger, and here I was musing about my lung capacity. I was not alone. I could feel others' presence quite near me. I burst again above the river's current, dragging me along, and saw the tiny island slightly to my left in front of me and a bit downriver. It must have been the photographer. His agony of death never left my memory. Crocodiles have a habit of flaunting their victims alive to the others. I didn't see him, just heard him. He may have been kept alive for a little while till the play stops and Croc decides how to soften up the meal. Drowning is one way. Then Crocs like to tenderize the meat by either stuffing it in underground crevices, or they reach the bank and find a spot to smash the meat to pulpy morsels. These thoughts raced through my mind with paralyzing fear. The hopeless sounds of people dying were within feet of me, some upriver and some downriver. The Crocs were very near. The river seemed in a frenzy with the smell of kills. The Croc roarings sound like the cross between lions roaring and hissing snakes. The deeper the tones, the larger they were. These are seasoned hunters of the rivers. The gurgled human sounds stopped just as quickly, abruptly, as I slammed into the grass island. The island was not what I thought it would be. I felt I had moved the island when I landed on it. About 30 feet in diameter, it was nothing more than a collection of tall grass clumps rooted to the bottom. There was nothing to really climb up on. I just sank chest deep through it. I had to hide. I had to get away from the river. The Crocs were coming. I froze when I felt the island quiver. A Croc was pushing through the grass somewhere from the other side, heading toward me. I knew he was searching for me. Again I called upon the powers of heaven. Less than a minute ago I had been hoping for air. Now I hope for protection. I concentrated on the small faint whisperings within, looking for answers on how to survive. Sinking under the water, I exhaled, sinking even farther into the root system of the island. I could feel the Croc pushing and tearing at the roots, thrashing as he moved inland. With no air in me, I found I could move with some effort. I half wiggled, squirmed and dragged myself to the left. Being tangled in the tall grass, I attempted to rise up a bit for air. My lungs began to hurt as I made a final push with my feet to stand. I lifted part of the grass clumps with me, took in a large fill of air and sank down as if in a large lounge chair. I pictured myself totally limp and felt free of all thought. I even passively imagined a Croc frenzy from 20 feet in the air, relaxed in my imaginary balloon. I was just deliriously watching the progress from above. This Wari was a big one. He was digging through the island, looking for me. I was 5 or 6 feet from the edge of the island upriver. The scary thought was he could sense me, probably knowing exactly where I was. I bolted into an upright position and with all my strength, I sloshed through, heading downriver along the outer edge of the island. Taking a deep breath of air, I dove off the grass island, letting the river pull me. With slow, limp movements, I descended sideways underwater along the island. The current took me away. I was now very near and slightly downriver of Wari. He didn't stop searching, but kept on pushing, tearing, being greedy, looking for my flesh. This definitely had not turned into a picnic. I did not have much time to realize what happened next. I needed air, and while coming up, I was half torn and pushed down. Something ripped at my hair. Was I being eaten by a Croc? I lost hold of the island. I pushed up for air and found myself on a shallow sandbar a few feet from the island. Tired, I forgot about concern for my own life. I just watched. It surely was another Wari on the island. Evidently the newcomer had sensed the urgency of my first stalker and made haste, climbing right over me. He sure tore me up. Now the two were busy fighting over who would get to me first. Also, I discovered blood was coming from the back of my head, where the croc in its frenzy used my head as a stepping stone to get over the island's loose bank. I was intending to slip into unconsciousness when the thought tugged at me to get away. Looking around, the situation was obvious. Worries were everywhere. If I bolted for the shore, the two stalkers would detect me. In fact, I thought they already did, but their movement was still amongst themselves on the island. Amazing how they worked. If one croc gave the impression of large worthy prey, the rest assumed there was some of me left for them also. Then the idea came to me. I could be rescued only if I stayed and hid myself on the island. I couldn't make it to shore. I glided for the island. It was my only chance before I got spotted. I had to move quickly. I sank deep into the grass roots, placing my back to the commotion, which was very close, sensing the crocs were ever more deeply getting bogged down and get caught up with the roots and grass and fighting among themselves. Pulling one of the grass stalks next to me, the bottom of the stalk was round, thick, and the inside was soft. The upper part of the stalk was strong enough. With firm pressure, I managed to clear a hole through a piece of stalk. While blowing the tube clear of debris, I inserted myself as if into a sleeping bag. My legs went deep into the roots of the island, and my head, along with my breathing tube, fit snugly between two large clumps of grass. With a hard exhale, I took my first slow inhale and spit out the bad-tasting pulp. This was easy enough. I could breathe and stay hidden for a while. The whole island seemed to be moving. I couldn't see much, and I was exhausted. If I passed out now, I would certainly drown. My body may never be found. I tugged at a wet root which was stuck to my face. I pulled at it. It was a leech. I must be covered with them. I would have screamed and jumped out of my skin, except I had very little strength to react. This was sort of a bad dream. I must stay awake to keep the tube in my mouth. But, then again, it was a dream and it just didn't really matter anymore. It was commotion and dark. I was extremely cold. The reality came to me. I was underwater, wrapped in roots, on a grassy island, in the middle of a river, infested with worries. My head hurt. It kept me from sleeping. I wanted to sleep, kept thinking about the stale air. A tube in my mouth tasted like rotten juice. I didn't want to move. It was a safe space, a silent womb, with reptiles all around me, leeches feeding on me, and heaven knows what else. That sound. Where had I heard that sound before? It grew louder. It sounded like a motor of some kind. A boat motor. Someone was out there. How could I move in a dream? I tried to move. Force more air in. Was this a dream? I have a tube in my mouth. I was underwater on an island, and the sound was a motorboat. If a croc spotted me, I would have little chance. I pulled my legs in to stand up. The boat might have rifles and protect me. I could get saved. What if the boat doesn't see me in time? I lifted myself up and felt the sun streaking through the grass. I was blinded for a moment and dared not move. Squinting, I couldn't see the boat, yet knew it was close. It was upstream and it would pass me soon. The riverbanks had the crocs attentively looking on. Suddenly all of them scrambled, slithering into the river. I am a dead man. Could the crocs see me in the tall grass? Maybe they sensed blood. Maybe the boat attracted their curiosity. How would I let the boat people know about me? I took a deep breath and screamed. I had no voice, and the sound I attempted was muffled by the motor and rustling of the tall grass. Maybe I couldn't be seen either. If I completely stood up, I would attract the crocs and they would get to me quick. I see the boat. I see people. I didn't know how to make them notice me. Don't have a way to signal. Maybe my shirt? Well, that was shredded. Not much left of my clothes. In fact, I was covered with mud and grass, and leeches, and river debris. I stood up, out of the water, and took the chance, waving my hands, wondering why the people didn't notice me. Looking around, it gave me a better indication of what the problem was. The grass on the island was taller than I was. With my camouflage, they could be looking right at me and not see me. Bet the crocs will find me. They have different ways of detecting prey. I looked around for something to throw. If I had dry matches, I could light up the whole island. They were shooting in the air. They were looking for survivors. Soon the boat rounded a bend downriver and was gone. They would have to come back, and this time I would get rescued. I felt the slight quiver of the island, and knew that scared feeling again. I intended to step back away from the bank and tripped. The big guy Wari had for the moment missed chopping on me, and was grounded on a clump, squirming and leaning forward trying to grab hold of me. I dug my heels and scrambled backwards over the grass clumps, and made some distance between us. I stopped, only because I could feel the island was silent. He was gone. My heartbeat was the loudest sound I heard. I moved toward the center of the island. Why did Big Wari back off? Not sure why. Crocs left little pieces of themselves all over the island. No wonder the jungle was silent. The island has been an arena for quite some time. Actually, I don't know how long it's been. From my left side, another Wari was crashing toward me. Closing my eyes, I could sense him coming. Then, a big guy croc attacked from behind. He made the whole island sink a bit. This time I had to move. From my left side, another Wari came charging. I could smell and hear the urgency for food. They have a smell of something dead. Again and again they charged the island from various points. Then another smaller one began to push and burrow toward me from the left again. They were trying to see who could get to me first. I just sat down, tired and not knowing what will happen next. The two decided to work me toward the downstream left side of the island. I wondered why the left side. My own weight has tilted the island slightly toward the left side of the river. Then, I suppose they could corner me better. I kept my eyes closed and felt them working, moving on me. The younger one went into a frenzy and struggled to get at me. As the thrashing became more intense, I slowly slipped around them and moved upstream on the island. I'm learning. I can feel their movements and can move a bit faster. How long can I keep this up? Another croc came on the scene and attacked the younger. Then the older big guy behind me just left. I sat down in the muddy grass, waiting for this cat and mouse fight to end. Maybe I passed out. I was mostly underwater, except my head was leaning on a clump of grass. The island around me looked a mess. Where tall grass used to be, was now littered with damage. Sharp stalks were poking out all around me. The Wari could easily see me now. Well, I had enough. And standing up, I pulled a rather long sturdy stalk. I was toying with it. What was I thinking? Chasing the Wari with a reed. Exhausted, bleeding, my feet sunk in the roots of the island, I sensed the faint quiver of a croc attempting to sneak up on me directly in front of me. I extended my arm backwards as if to spear a fish. The croc broke through the grass, blundering forward, hoping to surprise me. It was the big guy again. As if I had been practicing for 1,000 years, I punched the stalk through its left eye. I had made the move so fast and hard that I lost my footing and fell back, sinking further into the mud. Wari respectfully backed away, with a piece of the stalk still sticking out of the eye. I started pulling out slivers of the stalk that impaled through my hand. What was I dreaming? The same familiar sound as in another dream. It was a hum, the hum of a motorboat. I stood up, not thinking about the crocs. Armed with another grass reed of great supply, I moved toward the sound of the boat. Of course, I was delirious and half-conscious. I wanted to be seen by the rescuers. A few feet from the island bank's edge, I took the grass reed and started beating it against the rest of the grass. Didn't help in the clearing process I had intended, but as with all dreams, I just kept smashing my grass reed around. Faster and faster I did this to desperately clear the grass. I wanted to be seen. At the same time, the big guy croc approached, reed still in his left eye. Without giving it much thought, I whacked him on the nose. The response was an immediate, respectful withdrawal into the river. Faster and faster I churned and thrashed my stalk. I could hear the boat and the whirling sound of my reed. Or should I call it a spear? Or was it a poker? Or was it just a grass reed? Sounds like buzzing bees. I just kept thrashing, creating a sphere around me of the whistling sound, like a feather. My feather sword, my protection against all the elements. Darkness seemed to be closing around me. I was becoming mesmerized by the whirling sound of the stalk. Like when I was a happy child, remembering the sound of baseball cards attached with clothespins. Rumbling sounds it made against the spokes of a child's bicycle. Happy outside, playing. I was drifting. Or was that really the sound of a motorboat? There was very little to tell after being rescued. Rumors circulated about the Wari fighter. The tales stretched taller and longer. About Hako, the Wari fighter who single-handedly chased away the crocs with the strange sound made from a grass reed. Natives created a dance. Using different lengths of stalks, they created buzzing sounds by waving them ceremoniously through the air. They were dancing a story about Hako the warrior who killed the Wari through the eye. Years later, the American legend was revisited by a persistent reporter who tracked down Hako and asked about the grass reed legend. Hako replied saying, quote, "The grass reed on that island was the Constitution and Bill of Rights of the United States of America." The end.